Gary, you haven't answered my video directly, but you did put a comment in a video, and I went in to stick him. Well, I didn't have a chance to talk to you and stick him about it. You were still acting as though I'm going quantum blah 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 phantasmagorical. And why? Because of the second video. And in that video, I say specifically, that we're not talking about particles having will, that the only relationship is this other relationship to will, that there is room for us to have a will and a way to interpret what will would mean in this model of quantum mechanics. And I mean, is that your position, that any statement that allows for there to be will is phantasmagorical? Because I think that's ridiculous. I mean, I would argue determinism and will with you until the cows come home. But the fact is that right now we have a practical system that requires a will, namely the judicial system, and it's based entirely on the idea that a criminal has a choice about what they do. Now, you use the legal system, right? You've sued people with to take down videos and stuff, and this all presumes, this legal system that you're using, that they have the ability to do that. It would be irrational of you to be using that system when you don't think they have the power to choose their actions. Also, there's an element here where you're saying that, well, no, you could use the legal system because when you create a law, that becomes a force in those persons' lives and can be one of the things that helps them make their unfree decision. The problem I have there is I think that is basically, bullshit, dangerous bullshit, because you're saying that a person doesn't have free will to affect their own behavior, but they do have free will to affect the behaviors of others, namely by creating a law. Okay, so we have the ability to affect others, but not ourselves, and I think that that's very unhealthy and unwise. But is this your point, that you really think it's such an over question that just mentioning that there's room for will it counts as phantasmagorical? Because that's obscenely ludicrous. Obviously, there is some sort of phenomena there, and that's my approach. There is a phenomena of will. There absolutely is. Now, if it turns out that you're right and there's nothing free about that, well, fine. There's still this phenomena of will, which becomes, a question about why do we have this illusion? Why is this illusion even possible? And since we are made of matter, I would look in matter for the constituents of this illusion, if that's what it is. And it would still exist. It's like the phenomena of the sky rising. Okay, that was explained by the idea at one point that the sun is this shining object that's attached to the celestial sphere, and that sphere rotates around us, so we see it move. And if I disagree with that explanation, I'm not saying the sun doesn't rise. And it turns out I don't think the sun rises. Isn't that amazing? The earth is spinning. The sun doesn't rise, the earth spins. And yet, still, the phenomena of the sun rising, of it appearing to go up, still exists, just like the phenomena of will appearing to exist would still be true. We just have an explanation that told us why this was not free. So, it's ludicrous that you want to cut off the conversation based on any acknowledgement that there might be room still for will, because that has to be an open debate. You do not have enough of that pinned down to say that that debate is closed, because, for one thing, you need to develop your idea of unfree will into something that can justify a judicial system of some sort, because you use judicial systems. So if you're going to take away free will and then rob me of my judicial system, my practical tool that I need, then you owe me one judicial system. You need to explain how the judicial system could work. If you want to explore quantum theory and find out rational and reasonable explanations of it, if you want to make it seem less magical so that it's not just the domain of the magicians, then you can't close questions like this off from the start. You can't say that you are only going to accept explanations of quantum theory that justify whatever bias you're bringing in that you expect to be proven in the end. I mean, I'm not expecting that quantum theory is going to prove free will. You are not allowed to expect that it's going to disprove free will. We need to look at what it could mean, and if it opens up the possibility that there's room in this universe for will again, that's just a risk you have to take, as far as I can see, to have an open-minded, valid conversation on the subject.